What's up, guys? This is Andrew Mil-Spec with Combat Training. Today we're going to be talking about the thumbs forward grip on a handgun. This is a two-handed gripping technique that I want you to apply anytime you're using a semi-automatic pistol. Using a revolver with magnum round or something like that, you can try the Weaver grip, and gripping a revolver is a little bit of a different technique either way. But this is the most effective technique for gripping a semi-automatic pistol. Now, if we want to think about why this is so important, Don Edwards of Green Line Tactical, when I took his defensive pistol class, said something very profound, and that is that the only true fundamental of marksmanship is don't move the gun while you press the trigger. See, we break these things down, we overanalyze the fundamentals, but really, we're just trying to not move the gun while we press the trigger. If we have a solid grip on the pistol, that's going to make it easier to not move the gun while we press the trigger. So let's look at how we do that, because the two things we're going to get out of having a solid grip is, number one, recoil mitigation, as in it's going to be easier to get that follow-up shot. So after the gun goes bang, because we have a good solid grip, we're going to be back on target faster. Number two, having a solid grip allows us to cheat our trigger press. So if we get a little bit sloppy on the trigger, our left hand, well, for me, my left hand, my non-firing hand, my reaction hand is there to cheat my trigger press, keep the gun aligned on target as I press the trigger. Let's talk about how. First, we're going to be worrying about the firing hand, okay? For me, my right hand. Now, if you look right here on the pistol, you see how there's this curve, that's the tang. You want to take the web of your hand between your thumb and your trigger finger and get it as high up on the tang as possible. The higher up we are on the gun, the better, the more recoil mitigation we will get. Next, we're putting our middle finger index against the trigger guard, and then our trigger finger, again, reference the firearm safety rules video I have, keep your finger straight off the trigger and high off the trigger guard until you're ready to fire. Imagine, touch the ejection port. Okay, when we're establishing our grip in the holster, it should look just like that. Also, whenever you're picking up a gun off a table, you should be gripping it properly, just like that. Now, the firing hand is squeezing with our fingers from the front of the pistol grip, and then also the back of our palm is also squeezing forward. Our pinky is kind of just torquing the gun a little bit if you're shooting one-handed, but I want to make a video specifically just about that. All right, so we have it in our hand, and what should ideally look like is a straight line from front sight, rear sight, wrist, elbow, if we were to press the gun out one-handed. The straighter we have the gun in our hand, the better. However, I'm gonna have a video on trigger control as well. If you have to make a little bit of a micro adjustment to shoot more accurately, especially at distance, you can do that with this hand. If you need to move it out just a little bit to get a little bit better perch on trigger, that's okay. But ideally, if we can have it going straight line from front sight to rear sight, wrist, elbow, that's going to be best. Now let's talk about what happens with the reaction hand, support hand, in my case, my left hand. What I want to do is I want to have tension in my wrist. So if you imagine I point my thumb at the target, that puts tension in my wrist. That's going to aid in recoil mitigation as the gun is cycling. Now, this hand is going to marry alongside my right hand, and what I want to do is I want to touch my thumb to the frame, and then I'm going to have a straight line going with my thumb parallel to the slide, and then my fingers on my left hand are wrapping into the grooves of my other hand, and last but not least, my palms are touching. So basically, all the area back here that my right hand isn't touching, I want my left hand touching it. The more meat we have on the gun, the more control we will have. Now, I have my hand in the correct position. Again, thumb is pressing on the frame with my thumb parallel to the slide, and then my fingers are wrapped in the grooves of my other fingers, and my palms are touching. Right here, we're going to crush our palms as we press straight to the target. If you crush your palms together right here, you're gonna have a tighter grip if you had to fire from a retention position, but also crushing them right now, crushing them together like you're trying to crack a nut in between your palms, as you press out, makes it a much tighter position than if you were just to bring the gun out and then squeeze your hand. Try that out. I promise you it works a lot better than just pressing out and squeezing. Now, how much pressure are we trying to put on with this hand? Well, with our right hand, we won't want to over squeeze, because the harder we're squeezing with our firing hand, the less dexterity we will have with our trigger finger, and it can screw up our trigger press. But with our left hand, we want to squeeze the shit out of it. So as tight as you can with your support hand, you want to be squeezing the gun. Now, the tighter we have the gun in our hands when it's out there, the less recoil we'll have. If you are squeezing it so hard that the gun is shaking, you're trying to make an accurate shot, you probably want to let off just a little bit. But I want you to maintain the pressure with your thumb into the frame of the pistol, because as you press the trigger back here, it moves the gun to the side. And generally with a right-handed shooter, it's going to push the gun off to the left. So having the thumb there helps keep it straight in line. All right, guys, hope that helped out. Hope that explained things a little bit more thoroughly than what you originally understand it as. Be sure to check out my website, combatortraining.com. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, share it, buy my rifle slings, sign up for a class. Remember that training saves lives, and keep fighting communism.